Now here's something for you to mull over. Each file in the file system has an index number, or the inode. This is unique to the file system and identifies the file within the file system. But this is the big catch here. An unmounted directory is not the same file when it is mounted. As I say, something to think over, but let's dive out to our command line so we can really investigate this. Now we're going to be able to go through some really interesting and important information here, but let's begin where we started. So I'm going to unmount or umount that MKG directory. And of course, if I go through and take a look in it, then it should be empty because the marketing directory now is unmounted. It exists as a file because a directory is just a special type of file within our root file system. I can see some information of that if we look at -LD, so a long listing, D because it's a directory, and I to include the inode number. And look at that, we can see that it's a relatively long number, but let's just concentrate that it's ending in 449. But also, whilst we're here, part of the file is going to be the metadata, the permissions. And we can go through and see that root has access, both as a user and a group, and then everyone else has read and execute. If we check the current group membership of my Ubuntu account Tux, I can see that I belong to the ADM group, among others. So if we run sudo and chgroup, let's change the group membership of that file and change it to ADM for our marketing directory. Now we can check what we've done. If we go back and run our listing, we can now see that ADM is listed. But of course they have no more permissions than others. We have read and execute for the group. So we can change permissions using the chmod. The permissions are known as the file mode. So sudo and chmod, and we can add to the group the right permission for our marketing directory. Let's go through and check again. And it looks now as if our permissions are correct. The ADM group to which Tux belongs has got the right permission. So it looks like, at first looks, we are good to go with our file system security. The ADM group should be able to write. Well, let's go through and see what happens. I suspect a little drama as we wait for this cliffhanger, but let's go through and sudo and mount. I'm going to mount the device by its label because I can remember that. Can't really remember the UUID. So we can use the marketing label to the MKT directory. Again, I'm not worried about the systemd information. But as we go through now and take a look, the marketing directory seems very different. The inode number is 128 now, not ending in 449. And look at our permissions. They've reverted back to what they originally were, where the ADM group doesn't have permissions. Now, at this stage, we might scratch our head a little bit and think, well, actually, I did set the permissions. So we can go back and we can set the mode of the directory, group plus W. We can go back through our history and set, that's set the mode again. I want to set the group ownership. So looking for the chgroup command. There it is. So now we should be back up and running the way that we want. And this certainly does look good, but we have to be really mindful of the inode being different. This is now a different file. Marketing has taken on the identity of the root file of the partition that we have mounted. It's a completely different file now, and that's what we might not realize. Now, I do want to test the permissions, so let me clear the screen, and then we can use echo to just redirect some text through to our file. So using the greater than symbol, we're redirecting through to the MKT directory and to that file, file2. So that's it. We know the permissions are working because I'm able to write. So things seem to be working. But I suppose the reality is we shouldn't leave things the way that they are. So let's go through and umount the MKT directory. And of course, when I look inside of the MKT directory now, as the Tux user, I might be a little bit surprised to see there is no content. Now, we know it because we've just unmounted it, but I might be expecting to see both file 1 and file 2, and I might be on the phone now through to the help desk. The idea is, though, when the file system is not mounted, we should really make sure that it's inaccessible to our users. So I'm setting up the permissions now with chmod, and I'm setting users, groups, and others, the 3 sets of permissions, on the marketing directory to be nothing. Got equal and then nothing, just the directory. So if I now go back and list the contents, we can see the permissions block is empty. Root will always have access, but now nobody has access. Now, this doesn't make life any easier for me. As I go through and look at the marketing directory, I get permission denied. But what it does mean is that I'm not going to add content to the directory whilst it's unmounted. But if we go back and if we can find our mount command again, we can go back and mount it. And as I look inside my glorious marketing directory, I can breathe a sigh of relief as both of my important files are still there. The important takeaway here is that each file, including directories, is uniquely identified by the inode number in that file system. When we mount a directory, the directory is going to inherit the root file from the imported file system. So we're working with 2 different files, both mounted and unmounted. We should be setting our permissions for access when the file system is mounted.